And even at the Berlin screening, we had a German guy, a German man that served in the German military and was training in Sardinia, and he was like, I was the one that shoot those missiles, and I didn't know that the consequences were like that. If I did, I wouldn't have done it, and I was ashamed of it. And
Wow.
It was terrible. And also the Australia picked up the story. They rang me and said, we heard about what happened, let us run a few articles on it. And we went a few times, and Emma Bridge was trying to quieten the story, even among the ABC people. They were like, people were going asking her, and that's what I heard. She kept saying, like, don't mess with me, stay out of this, like she's intimidating people to shut it down. And they were getting lawyers. Their lawyers, of course, they worked for this there. So I had no chance to actually take this further because, of course, I had no money. I was just came out of a 5-year working for no money, and and I ended up sort of having, I couldn't pay for a lawyer anymore. But anyway, my karma is a bitch, and you know what? And she deserved everything that came for her afterwards. In fact, I'm still saying I'm doing what I'm doing because my soul is pure. It all comes from my heart, and her doesn't. So.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, I don't know about you, but like for me, when I first encountered people in my adult life who really were unscrupulous and completely took advantage of me, it was just a shock, like, and you just, particularly if you strike me as someone who has a good heart. And I would imagine people who, a lot of people in the documentary space, I think probably are humanitarian type people. And, I certainly value people who are down to earth and honest. And I think that that's probably a way that you would connect and, resonate with your subjects, for lack of better terminology, when you're going to create material that involves them, is to have that side. So I mean, and all that research work, because that was something I wanted to talk to you about, was the research, because I've not created a documentary, but I always thought, I love watching documentaries and I love people, so I had kind of thought that could be really interesting. So how do you normally, do you have a process that you kind of go down, like when you start to try to, I guess, gather material, and what kind of material do you typically go looking for?
I think the first thing is hit Google and see what comes up. And that's the first thing. And then from there, you understand if anybody talked about it. And then you try to get the contact of the person you read that talked about it, or made a research, or made a paper, or wrote an article on a paper, on newspaper. So you just try, to put all the pieces together. So see who's out there, and then you connect with them, speak to them. The hard part of this documentary was that not many people wanted to talk about it. It's taboo, it's dangerous. So that's the hard part. So I put, also my own life at risk, with intimidation, with it was really hard. And then through understand if there is a court case, you read, learn how to read jurisprudence language, and trying to, in 2 different languages, first in English and then in Italian. And then also you put it together, all this puzzle starting to look like a picture. And then there's the editing part, which of course is putting all this research into an editing flow, or you include the research in the editing process to make a bigger picture, because generally, when the editing, you understand what's missing, but you don't know what the puzzle looks like at the end. So it's hard. So it just keeps growing and growing till, from Sardinia went into the UN and NATO and the the United Nations Resolution Center, and Iraq, Bosnia. The film has touched so many different countries because it's a universal theme. It's actually it's a world problem, and that's why I was recognized by the Iranian International Festival as one of the most outstanding films that they ever had. Because of my research was, it's like I did a PhD pretty much on the subject, and now I spoke about it at the the Italian Parliament. I'm aiming to go to the European Parliament. My film was actually requested as a proof to the trial of Sardinia. Compensation for the damages that they caused. So it's it's doing a lot of great things and going far, and we will submit also an application for the Human Rights Convention. So
how many other countries or locations in the world are in a similar situation? I imagine there are a few.
Yeah, there are a lot. Of course, all the places where this, the US and the NATO has bombed because they use these, these chemicals, these elements like uranium, which is, so deadly, and create nanoparticles. So they, so it's Iraq, is Afghanistan, Bosnia, all the Balkans, basically. There are right now nearly 4,000 Italian military soldiers that have died of cancer because of these military actions in these countries.
Wow.
So it's massive. It's really massive.
Yeah.
And these are Italians. Imagine like the rest of Americans. There are so many. Like I remember, reading a lot about American depleted uranium poisoning in the U.S. soldiers. And even at the Berlin screening, we had a German guy, a German man that served in the German military and was training in Sardinia, and he was like, I was the one that shoot those missiles, and I didn't know that the consequences were like that. If I did, I wouldn't have done it, and I was ashamed of it. And
wow. I mean, some of the imagery just in the trailer of the mutations with the animals was so disturbing. Like, because I saw it a few times over. I was just. Yeah, I was kind of a bit mind-boggling, really. And I mean, if that's happened to like animals, I mean, it's who knows what sort of effect it's had on people. It's just really really sad.
If people watch the film, they'll find out.
Yeah, 100%. It's on Prime, Amazon Prime at the moment.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime, on iTunes, and also on Vimeo on Demand. I think maybe Vimeo on Demand might work better in Australia.
Okay.
Because of censorship. I couldn't afford to get it censored in Australia yet, through the classification system. Yeah. So it's one thing I would love to do, but so it's available in the rest of the world. It's funny, in Australia, it's okay to go through cinemas and everything like that without classification. But I haven't got it, and unfortunately I had the funds to go through that process, and it takes a while too. So I thought, well, maybe there's other ways.
Other ways that people can view it. It's interesting that you manage that, because this has probably filled in a little blank in my knowledge of that. But for many, many years, I think even going back to childhood, my sisters and I used to, we didn't realize that was the way that the classification system worked, that someone was having to pay for the rights. We were just wondered why we see so many movies come out in the theater that are not yet classified. And we just thought it was like that the classification people were either vastly understaffed or just really lazy. We were just like, why don't those bums watch these movies and like classify them?
No, because unfortunately for you have and it shouldn't be that way, I think, especially because a lot of filmmakers that make great films don't have all this money to spend on classification. It's just basically somebody watching it. I can tell you that, maybe people under 14 should watch it, because sensitive content.
Yeah. Way to make money. That's exactly right. Yeah. So, this is as good as any segue to have a brief chat about film Flicks for Good, which is the venture that I'm ultimately working towards. This is a passion project, Filmmakers, and it's because I have a significant interest in it, and I love movies and quality TV, documentaries, and things like that. But it does also tie a little bit into what I decided to do when I was, the coronavirus came in, and my kind of little fledgling video production business was already struggling for survival for a year anyway. And then that happened. And then I was just like, oh my goodness, now like I'm completely up the creek. I tried to be clever. I thought, okay, there will always be people who will be doing more business regardless of what's happening. There's always going to be demand. Toilet paper was going crazy. And I thought, well, who even people selling bidets and things like that. I approached people like that to see whether they might need some content. And maybe it was just too early, but nobody was going for it. So I was like, okay, well, here I am, and now like I'm potentially going to have like effectively no job, no income, and like not much money in the bank. So before long, we could even have no food in the house. And I know enough about people, and I worked in recruitment for many years, and so I understand that 70% of people in the world spend what they earn.